Welcome to LFC Transfer Hub. Luis Diaz completes permanent move to Bayern Munich. Luis Diaz has completed a permanent transfer to Bayern Munich after 3.5 years with Liverpool. The Colombian departs the Reds, having played a significant role in the lifting of 4 major trophies since arriving from FC Porto in early 2022, highlighted by Premier League title glory last term. Diaz made an instant impact after being signed by Jurgen Klopp, with his pace, trickery and output from various attacking positions on show from his first appearances in the Liverpool shirt. It was an eventful opening half-season for him at the club, Lucho scoring 6 goals and delivering 4 assists in 26 appearances before the end of 2021-22. He aided the Reds' push for a remarkable quadruple, starting both Wembley finals as the Carabao Cup and Emirates FA Cup were won, each via a penalty shootout versus Chelsea. Diaz was also in the team as Klopp's side, who finished runners-up in the Premier League, were beaten by Real Madrid in the Champions League final in Paris. A serious knee injury sustained in the early phases of the next campaign prevented Diaz from immediately building on his electric start at Anfield, limiting him to only 21 games across 2022-23. That summer, he swapped number to become Liverpool's newest number 7. And he steadily began to reproduce his finest form. Over the next 2 seasons, Diaz represented the Reds 101 times, scored 30 goals and gave 10 assists. Another League Cup success at Wembley marked 2023-24, before Klopp vacated the dugout and was replaced by Arne as the club's new head coach. Diaz had predominantly been deployed in wide roles for the Reds to date, but Slot increasingly used him as the central attacker of a front 3 during the past campaign. It worked a treat, with Diaz enjoying his most prolific single season with Liverpool and helping to lead the team to a Premier League title triumph, one secured with 4 matches left to play. 13 of his 17 strikes overall in 2024-25 came in the top flight, including a memorable double at Old Trafford as Slot's side laid a marker down at the outset of the campaign. Among other personal highlights of his final season at Liverpool was a second-half hat-trick in a 4-0 Champions League rout of Bayer Leverkusen at Anfield. The last hurrah of his Reds career will remain the jubilant scenes he was part of in April and May as the championship was mathematically clinched and subsequently celebrated with supporters. Diaz now embarks on another chapter in his career with the completion of a permanent transfer to the Bundesliga with Bayern. Everybody at Liverpool FC thanks Luis for all of his contributions during his time at the club and wishes him the best for the future. Arne Slot on Luis Diaz move. I'll miss the person, the player, and the song. Arne Slot has detailed his affection and appreciation for Luis Diaz after the forward's transfer from Liverpool to Bayern Munich. Diaz brought to an end a spell of 3.5 years with the Reds that included 4 major trophies and 41 goals. The most recent piece of silverware was the Premier League title secured last season, Slot's first as head coach and what has proven to be Diaz's last at the club. Asked about the Colombian as Liverpool concluded their pre-season tour of Asia on Wednesday, the boss said, "Yeah, it was always going to be a sad day when Diaz left LFC. First of all for the person he was, because he always had a smile on his face no matter what. In the year that I've worked with him, I played him a lot, so then maybe it's a little bit more normal to have a smile on your face. But even when I didn't play him, he always came out for every training session and gave it everything, with a smile on his face. Apart from that, I'm going to miss his song a lot as well, because it was maybe one of the best songs our fans have for a player. And of course all that he contributed to us winning the league. But this is also who we are as a club. We are making big signings, we have done that over the past few years. But this club also needs to recoup funds to get these transfers that we already did over the line. It has been a summer where we've spent a lot, but I think if people look at all the money we've already brought in, that's also, like last year when we almost only sold players, a good thing for this club as well." A dozen of Luis Diaz's milestone moments at Liverpool. Recap Luis Diaz's time at Liverpool with a dozen images of landmark moments for the Colombian with the club. The attacker has said farewell to the Reds, who he joined at the beginning of 2022, to seal a permanent move to Bayern Munich. He leaves having played 148 games, scored 41 goals and lifted 4 major trophies. Luis Diaz, born January 13, 1997, La Guajira, Colombia. Position winger. Signed January 30th, 2022. Porto. £37.5 million or £43 million. Debut versus Cardiff. February 6, 2022. Liverpool have confirmed the sale of Luis Diaz to Bayern Munich in a deal worth €75 million, £65.6 million. With the forward departing after 3.5 years, Diaz left Liverpool's pre-season camp in Japan on Monday before undergoing a medical in Germany the following day. The Colombian's transfer is now official, with Bayern agreeing a deal which stands as the third biggest sale in Liverpool's history. This as Anfield understands the €75 million, £65.6 million package was finalized late last week after talks resumed following persistent contact from Bayern. Bayern were eager to bolster their attacking ranks following the departures of Thomas Muller and Leroy Sane, along with a long-term injury to Jamal Musiala. After failed attempts to sign Florian Wirtz, who chose Liverpool, and Nico Williams, who signed a new contract at Athletic Club, the Bavarian club have now landed a top-level signing. Diaz leaves Liverpool having become a key player for both Jurgen Klopp and later Arne Slot, making an immediate impact following his move from Porto in January 2022. He was signed in a deal worth an initial £37.5 million, with the club paying a further £5.5 million in add-ons during his time at Anfield. That means the £65.6 million deal represents a considerable profit despite Diaz having entered the final 2 years of his contract and being set to turn 29 in January. Speaking to Bayern's website after completing his move, Diaz said, "I'm very happy. It means a lot to me to be part of FC Bayern. They're one of the biggest clubs in the world. I want to help my new team with my way of playing football and my character. My goal is to win every possible title, and that's what we'll work for every day as a team." Liverpool have already bolstered their attack with the signing of Hugo Ekitike from Eintracht Frankfurt, but are expected to make further additions in the coming month. That comes with Darwin Núñez and Federico Chiesa also likely to move on, with Newcastle striker Alexander Isak their priority target. Luis Diaz's farewell message to Liverpool. In an emotional Instagram post, Diaz bid farewell, saying, 3 years and a half that I'll treasure forever. I arrived with all the dreams in the world, and I am leaving proud of everything we achieved together. I have met incredible people, fabulous colleagues, coaches who helped me a lot, and extraordinary fans. Liverpool is, indeed, a special team, and I will keep everyone in my heart. The cycle ends here, and it is so gratifying to look back and realize how happy we were. Not only because of the trophies we won, but for the union and friendship that made it all possible. There were ups and downs, as there always are, but there was always truth, as it should be in a family. It's good to be leaving with the feeling of a duty fulfilled, and, most of all, to be leaving a champion. It would have been the perfect goodbye if we hadn't lost one of ours in such a tragic way. As I said, and I repeat, I carry everyone with me in my heart, but one of them in particular, Diogo. I will never forget him. We will never forget him. Thank you for everything. YNWA. Luis Diaz. He's from Barrancas but will always have a home in Liverpool. Luis Diaz leaves Liverpool as a figure loved by supporters but a player perhaps underrated due to the quality of his competition. Liverpool's success over the last 7 years, brought about by Jurgen Klopp and continued by Arne Slot, has meant our perception of quality has been warped. If Diaz had played for Liverpool during the 15 years prior to Klopp's arrival, he would have been deemed one of the star attractions, up there with the signings of Luis Suarez, Fernando Torres and Philippe Coutinho. However, such was the caliber of the squad he joined in 2022. He never quite grew into the main man he threatened to become early in his Anfield career. That isn't to diminish his achievements, of course. The Colombian was an integral figure in each of his 4 trophy triumphs and will be missed by the Cop, who instantly took to his brilliant combination of tenacity and skill. Luis Diaz at Liverpool. 3 months prior to Diaz signing for Liverpool, he had his first taste of Anfield as Porto travelled to Merseyside in the Champions League. While the night ended in defeat for the winger as the Reds won 2-0, Diaz's appetite for the atmosphere had been whetted in front of a set of fans who would one day unabatedly sing his name. That season, the Reds were good, but it wasn't until after Christmas that Liverpool really turned the screw, with Klopp's new Colombian a key factor in pushing the team towards a quadruple. Instantly, Diaz made a difference, often replacing Sadio Mane on the Senegalese move central, and Roberto Firmino began to lose his place in the starting 11. What stood out from the off was Diaz's enthusiasm for the game. The winger drove at the opposition with the same ferocity, whether it be in the first or last minute. Diaz wasn't just about the tricks and flicks, though. His relentless pressing and tenacity to win the ball made him a constant danger, in and out of possession. It quickly became apparent that Liverpool had pulled off a coup in beating Tottenham to Diaz's signature. Life beyond Sulla, Mane and Firmino suddenly became palatable. A player for the big occasion. Another string to Diaz's bow was his ability to step up in his big games. The Colombian's lack of consistency was ultimately what held him back from being among the very best players in the world. However, when times were tough, Diaz's level almost always rose. During cup finals and end-of-season nail-biters, he would be the man to take responsibility and carry the ball upfield to give his teammates some precious moments of relief. In a final, you forget fatigue. You play, you run, and you fight, Diaz said. Before he had even moved out of the Titanic Hotel, Diaz had won his first piece of silverware, producing an exciting display that helped Liverpool to their 2022 League Cup triumph. His performance in the 2024 League Cup final, as well as the 2022 FA Cup, was also exemplary, as he exhibited a level of fitness that allowed him to provide a threat when others were wilting under pressure. The 2024 Wembley win, surrounded by youth team players, saw Diaz stand up to be counted. He played all 120 minutes and proved himself as a leader, creating more chances and completing more dribbles than anyone else on the pitch, providing Liverpool with a lifeline and sticking point in the opposition half. He's from Barrancas and he plays for Liverpool. Diaz's career in football has been one he has had to work extremely hard for. Born in Barrancas, the number 7 comes from the impoverished La Guajira region of Colombia and is a member of the indigenous Wayuu tribe. Before becoming a figurehead for his national team, he rose to the top the hard way, not even signing for a professional club until he was 18 years old. My self-belief, comes from my roots. I always played football in my town, in my homeland, Diaz told UEFA. They are my characteristics. They have instilled in me several things that I have today, and now I have grown much more. That's my game. Each game is a revenge for always going out to look for more. I know what it costs and I have to take advantage of every moment, every minute I have. Diaz has never taken Liverpool for granted. Part of the reason why supporters have grown such affection for the tricky winger. The Cop's famous chant for the number 7 refers to Diaz's origins, while asserting its pride that we can call him one of our own. When his parents were kidnapped by a guerrilla group in late 2023, the bond between Diaz and supporters only became stronger as fans and his teammates offered their support. Thankfully, his family were reunited and Diaz Sr. became a regular in away ends, celebrating fervently among traveling supporters. The perfect on-field ending. Unfortunately, Diaz's knee injury in October 2022 slowed his development and took him a long time to recover from. However, we finally saw the best of the Colombian again as slot side won the Premier League, with Diaz playing 50 times and scoring 17 goals across all competitions in his final campaign. At 28 years old, it may seem early for Diaz to depart for the Bundesliga. However, the reality is that he will feel the need to make the most of the biggest wage opportunity in his career. By the time his next contract comes around, he will be in his early 30s and past his peak. We say goodbye to Diaz with a heavy heart, but knowing, at the same time, that Liverpool will put the funds to good use. This was a player whom the Cop loved and he embraced us back, even dancing to the fans' song at his own wedding. He is Luis Diaz and he is from Barrancas, but he will always have a home on Merseyside. We really miss you, Diaz. Thanks for watching. Like and comment and subscribe.